What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Winning Mentality Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Biwu, where we talk about stories of grit, determination, success in the sports and fitness world. And today we have a special guest, my cousin, Brian Wu, MLB pitcher for the Seattle Mariners. And we're going to dive into his life, his journey as a baseball player, stemming from a young age all the way up to making it in the big leagues. Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So let's start from the beginning. Where did you first fall in love with baseball? Where did that come from?
I think Alameda has a pretty good foundation of baseball ties, little league, and high school travel ball, that stuff. I think there's a really good baseball community in Alameda. Sure. I think anybody from Alameda can attest to that. But yeah, I think all my friends and whatnot. Growing up, everybody played baseball together. Everybody kind of did travel ball together. Everybody would hang out at the little league fields all day. You play games, you finish, you play stickball, hang out at the snack shack. And I think that kind of culture of everybody hanging out together and spending time together and, finding kind of like my group of friends and spending time finding those bonds, I think kind of stemming from such an early age. And then all those guys kind of sticking together all the way up through, kind of high school and guys that I'm still friends with today. So I think it started at a young age. And I think it's definitely started and stemmed from like the community that is Alameda baseball.
Oh, for sure. Who was your guys you looked up to in the league when you were a kid?
Growing up, I mean, I think obviously having the A's and the Giants here pretty early on. My earliest memories of like Barry Bonds, watching, Eric Chavez, Marco Scutero, all the fun teams that the Giants had, the A's had. I think we got pretty lucky with having, pretty good success in the Bay Area of when I was a kid of, we were kids of growing up and Giants winning all those championships, A's having such competitive teams all those years. So no matter what, if we were going to professional games and we were lucky enough to be close enough that we could go to big league games, and like I said, going with those friends and like everybody being able to go together, I think that's kind of where it stemmed from. And then just continuing to be able to have that access. We're pretty lucky to have the A's so close to us, and then going to Giants games as well. So being able to go to those games with friends and family and whoever, I think kind of sparked that pretty early.
Yeah, I mean, A's games, literally from where we lived on Alameda, there was like a back road. You could literally just take 10 minutes and you show up at the Coliseum and boom, you're right in there.
Yeah, from our place, it takes not even 10 minutes, man, to get to the Coliseum.
So yeah, we definitely would go to a lot of those games. Yeah. It's in the nosebleeds, and it was packed at the Coliseum. So I remember just being there. And I'm a huge Giants fan, but I always had love for the A's. It was just fun to go. And then just being able to see you in that same stadium, that we'll talk about, later on. But was there any particular player that you kind of, molded or wanted to match your game to when you were going into high school or even in Little League?
Yeah, growing up, I mean, I pitched and played infield, but I liked infield more. I wanted to be an infielder. And then as I kind of started to understand the game better, watch more baseball, fell in love with Brandon Crawford and like those Giants teams. Like you grew up a little bit more of a Giants fan, being able to watch those teams in like the early 2010s and like him kind of just being like a true professional. He went about his business the right way. Kind of leading those teams that were so fun to watch. Is the smoothest shortstop that you could watch. Effortless. Super smooth lefty swing. Just a good way about his game. And so I try to watch him, emulate him, not just like the way he played the game, but kind of like the way he went about his business. You could tell that he was kind of a lead by example type of guy and just went about his stuff the right way. So he was a pretty big idol for me growing up.
A hell of a player, man.
Yeah.
So going into high school at Alameda High, I played there, back in the early 2000s, graduated 2011. I can remember you were actually a bat boy for us.
Yeah.
maybe a couple of times, just sitting in the dugout, just seeing how everything goes. And like, it was dope because like, man, this is my little cousin. You get to watch everybody, all my homies play.
Yeah.
And then, a few years later, you're playing there. So did you start as infielder there? And then like, when was the transition into pitching, and how did you find that like kind of space, that role?
Yeah. So I think, going back to the Bat Boy and like elementary school through middle school, being able to kind of like watch your guys' teams, they realized you guys were always so good, and like always kind of wanting to be in that spot of like how good you guys were and watching you play. And I think that was definitely also part of like the love and like admiration for the game, and the success that you guys had in school, and kind of like wanting to continue that. So I think that was definitely a part of like me choosing to go to Alameda High. And then once I got into high school, I was pretty small. I didn't hit a growth spurt and grow till probably like my junior year. So going into high school, 8th grade to freshman year, like was definitely one of the smaller guys on the team. Wasn't very strong, wasn't very fast, didn't throw very hard, the whole thing. So I was on JV my first year, playing infield. Definitely wasn't like looked at or recruited in terms of colleges and all that stuff until way later on. So those first couple of years were tough, man. I wasn't very good. Everyone was bigger than me, faster than me, stronger than me. And so I think that was kind of the time that I realized like I'm going to have to work, twice as hard if I really want to even keep up and be better than like these guys that I'm playing against. Cause I was pretty far behind in terms of like physicality.
Got you. So then did that help you kind of realize like, all right, I need to get bigger, stronger, get into the gym, weight room? Like what was the next move for that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think as you get older, you start to understand like how important the weight room was. And kind of after my freshman year, it's one of the main things that coaches, like our high school coaches, would tell us was just start living in the weight room. And after pretty much like my freshman year, started really getting in the weight room, working out. Throughout high school, really, I didn't honestly know what I was doing.
Right.
I was just getting in, lifting what I could. Yeah. I didn't really have like a great program or coaches or things like that I was just kind of like, honestly just got in the gym and figured it out. Like try to watch videos, I was big on, thankfully we had YouTube growing up.
Yeah.
You could go on and look up like
anything,
so-and-so's workout, or like look up. I was big on like watching, MLB Day in the Life, something like that. And I would go look it up and I'd be like, all right, what are these guys doing? How do they work out? How do they go about their day? And I would try to just like write stuff down and emulate it and go to the gym and like copy what they were doing.
Yeah.
Because, we didn't have a whole lot of access to like super nice gyms or like facilities. Like Alameda is a great baseball community, but unfortunately it's just, we just don't have a ton of like those big facilities that a lot of other places
have. Access and resources weren't really there.
Yeah.
You kind of had to source it out or go find like an actual strength and conditioning coach at the time.
Yeah.
Which it just wasn't a big thing. It wasn't really an emphasis at the time. Now I think that mindset has changed through all sports. Like, all right, start them young in terms of developing a base and everything.
Yeah.
So once you actually got that, so that's around sophomore year, maybe going into junior year, you started training a lot more, and then that ensued the pitching, or was it more of like maybe this position in the infield wasn't working, you wanted to figure something out?
No, so after my sophomore year, I made varsity my sophomore year. I was playing infield, but I still wasn't very good. I hit like a little bit of a growth spurt, started growing a little bit, but still wasn't very strong, still wasn't very fast, still didn't really do anything very well. I wasn't pitching at the time. And then going into my junior year, started playing travel ball that summer and getting better. But we, as a team in high school, like didn't have that many pitchers and guys that were healthy. And so one of our coaches asked if I wanted to pitch or if I could pitch. And I was like, yeah, I'll pitch here and there. I really wasn't like a focus of mine or something that I was super passionate about, but I was kind of just like, yeah, if our team needs pitching, I'll help out here and there. So to start the year, I was kind of just like, yeah, I might pitch a couple games here and there. I'm definitely not going to pitch a whole lot. And then it kind of took off, honestly, like a lot more than I thought it would.
Man, I only got to pitch 1 inning in high school.
Yeah.
It's only because we were up by 10 runs.
Yeah.
And Coach Heinrich was like, go ahead, you can pitch. And I went in there, hit the first guy. I think I struck out, the next guy, and then the next one hit like a liner off me. I'm like, damn, this is not for me. So for anybody that's thinks or sees baseball as like, oh, I could do that, like, no, you can't.
It's
like
tough, man.
It's a tough sport, and
tough.
When you transition from position to position, especially from infield to like a pitcher, like, yeah, you might have the arm, but then the mechanics and everything is completely different, right? And you have the ball majority of the time, right? Like throughout the whole game, you're the one with the ball. So did that change your outlook on how you work your mechanics? Like, did you get injuries or anything like that in high school? Was your arm sore all the time?
Not really. I mean, so yeah, junior year I ended up pitching a decent amount. And then going into my senior year that summer, playing a lot of travel ball, doing that whole thing, was kind of doing a little bit of both. I still wanted to play infield majority. Like that was still what I loved, still what I wanted to focus on. So, colleges started to reach out very slowly. Going into my senior year, got a couple of like small interests and offers and things like that. But my focus was still infield. So I started two-waying and doing kind of a little bit of both, but stayed decently healthy. I had like a little back thing in high school. That just kind of stemmed from like the lack of knowledge in the weight room. I feel like it was something that was definitely avoidable if I had like proper instruction or like proper structure in what I was doing in the weight room.
For sure.
So, a lot of the stuff that we work on now is still so like core stability based, that stuff that I really, really simple things that I could have, learned if I'd have just known in high school what to focus on, or like little things here of what to do and what not to do, it would have been a big help. But yeah, so at the time went through a little back injury, fall of my senior year. So I had a couple of small offers from like some non-Power 5 schools, and then not that I didn't like those schools, but I was looking for something that I was strong academically as well as the baseball. So Cal Poly ended up coming along. I went to a couple of camps down there, and as a position player, and honestly, like never really played that well. I think it was kind of that whole thing of I went down as a position player, and I was just like pressing so hard to try to impress, impress the coaches. I was, swinging so hard and like just not doing well. I think anybody that plays baseball know the more that you press, the more that you try, like it's just not going to work out. And so, I ended up going down to pitch as well. Like right as my back injury was really starting to bug me, was able to pitch like a couple of innings, and they ended up offering me a walk-on spot. So, Cal Poly was, a great academic school and also a good baseball team. And so that's what I ended up going with.
Shout out Cal Poly. Yeah. Got a lot of friends there too that went there. So they definitely support. They knew your name, coming there. And so now you're at Cal Poly. You're starting your freshman year. It's a whole different ball game, right? Yeah. You're meeting new guys. Everybody's pretty much at the same level as you are, right? So take me through that. What was that experience? I know there was a lot of ups and downs before you even got, scouted into the show. So what was that like?
Yeah, college it was rough, man. I'm not gonna lie. You go from high school where you really don't struggle a whole lot if you're one of the better players in high school. I think anybody that plays like high school sports know that. And as they go into college, it's like you're kind of better than everybody in high school without trying or working on certain things. And as you get into college, it's like everybody's, just as good, if not better. And so,
you're coming in at 18 and you're playing with dudes that are like 20, 21 already.
Yeah. So
they're seasoned.
Unless you're going in with like the right outlook, the right confidence, the right, preparation, you can really get exposed. And I think physically I wasn't that far behind. I think I was, going in as a pitcher, by the way, like I wasn't playing infield anymore. They only wanted me to pitch. So first time focusing on just pitching. And the physical stuff, wasn't as there, but my mental game was really lacking. I had no type of routine or preparation or things like that. So yeah, college was rough. Honestly, I struggled a lot. Freshman year had like a 9 ERA. Pretty much anytime I went in, I was giving up a run. Sophomore year was COVID, so I had like a couple of good games, couple bad games, and then the season got cut short. And
were you starting?
I was a reliever my sophomore year. Yeah, freshman year I did a little bit of both, but more relieving. Sophomore I was just a reliever, and then junior year was kind of going in as a starter. Was starting to get like some attention from like MLB scouts and things of that nature, and going into the year. So I was decently confident in kind of what I was doing. Felt like I had gotten better and mentally and physically. But yeah, still ended up struggling to start the year, got moved to the bullpen, and then found a little bit of success, and then ended up hurting my elbow and had to get surgery. So yeah, all in all, it was tough, but I think looking back on it now definitely helped me in the long run, because I think college, above anything else, just honestly taught me how to fail and like how to deal with failure and how to cope with it and like how to go about it the right ways. Because the first couple of years, I definitely didn't handle it great. I was super hard on myself as a someone that holds myself to like a high standard, and as a kind of a perfectionist. Failing was not something that I was used to, and so kind of just getting knocked down and having to find a way to get back up was definitely something new for me.
Yeah, and you're all kind of like going into college for anybody, whether you're playing sports or not. It's like a whole new life and journey, right? So you're still trying to figure everything else out for yourself, but then now you're trying to deal with school, try to stay on this team and do well and perform, at a high level. What was it that clicked for you, and what was like the turning point for you getting to the next level? I know you were injured, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but yeah, what was that like turning point mentally?
Honestly, is I learned little things throughout college of things that worked for me, things that didn't work for me, and like it was kind of spotty. Like I found some success here, I'd fail there. Never really kind of quite found my rhythm. And then once I got drafted, and I was injured at the time, so I was rehabbing, kind of had like a whole year plus almost to kind of like refine my mental process.
Small things.
I think for anybody that knows baseball, it's such a mental game. It's such a mental grind. It's a game of failure, I think. And so I was finally able to kind of like get away from the game a little bit and really hone in on things that worked for me. Had a really good team of mental skills coaches with the Mariners that were great about getting with me every day, and I go find them every day. We just have conversations about new ideas and new routines and things that I could try, whether it was breathing, whether it was some meditation things, journaling, all stuff that I still use today. So just kind of having that time to get away from the game and put my focus into mental structure and routine, and kind of finding things that worked for me. And then once I got back into like actually playing, then I was able to kind of put it all together.
That's great. And that's such a big thing that probably gets overlooked most of the time.
Yeah,
and
100%.
If you don't have the space to do that, or even the the capacity to sit back and be like, all right, let me think about myself and really gather in all my thoughts and whatnot. So let's rewind a little bit, because you did get drafted, right? And that's pretty much your junior year, half of your junior year, after you got injured, and that was what, around 2021?
2021, yeah.
So take me through that process. Like, what was that feeling of like, did you know exactly you were going to get drafted by who, and working with scouts and agents and all that kind of
stuff? So the draft process, especially coming out of COVID, it was pretty different than I think years past. Usually you have a bunch of scouts that are at practice and stuff in the fall. They reach out, you go, have meetings in person, you go get coffee, whatever, you talk, you talk to agents and stuff in person, but everything was kind of over Zoom. Everything was over the phone. Nothing was in person. So it was kind of a lot to keep track of as you're kind of navigating COVID. You're navigating, being at school and like making that whole thing work because you're going through COVID testing. You're going through, online classes.
Right.
Like it's all very different
More
and new.
Obstacles.
Yeah. So, the draft process was pretty interesting. I think going into my junior year, so like once I was draft eligible, being 21, had like a pretty good idea that like if I had a decent year that I was going to get drafted. I think because of kind of like my lack of in-game success, it was pretty widespread in terms of where I could have gotten drafted. Right. If I did well, I could have gotten pretty high, and if I didn't do well, there was a chance that maybe I didn't get drafted. And so it was kind of all over the place. I feel like most of like my draft stock was based on just like potential and like kind of I threw hard and whatever and all that stuff. But so it was an interesting process. And then once I got hurt at that point of the season, like I had some okay stats. It wasn't great. I just kind of had a couple of good outings here and there, and then was kind of starting to find my rhythm a little bit. And then right as I got hurt, that all went up in the air as well. So and then going through the process of like finding an agent and doing all that stuff. So it was a lot my junior year trying to like navigate through all that stuff. But ended up finding an agent, went with Apex Sports, and then kind of getting into the draft process, not really knowing where I was going to go because I was hurt. Right. And, like I said, didn't have a whole lot of success in college in terms of stats and all those things. So it was kind of widespread in terms of where I could have gone or thought I was going to go. And then, I got a call on draft day, on the second day of draft day, and agent told me I was getting drafted by the Mariners.
That's sick, man.
It was crazy.
Yeah, that was, as a family member, man, that was like, yes, we made it, right? Yeah. Like that was the sickest thing to hear. Yeah. And no, we were definitely proud of you, man. I know you should be proud of yourself, but then it was like, you can celebrate that. And then now it was like, all right, time to go, right? Yeah. So what was that next move of like, all right, what do I do? Like, how do I get into, a ramp up? Because draft day is what, in June?
That year is in July because of COVID, yeah.
Right. So usually it's midsummer or something like that, right? And then go into fall and then hopefully spring training, but you're in a different path because you're like, all right, I got to recover now. I got to get healthy, get strong again. Which I guess it could have been a blessing in disguise because it gave you a little bit more time to ramp up, get the ins and outs of like what the minors was going to be like, right? So you were kind of bouncing back and forth from, the training facility and then into ramping up to throwing and all of that.
Yeah.
When did that pretty much start? And, take me through that first season in the minors.
Yeah. So once I got drafted, you basically get a couple of days to kind of get your stuff together. And then basically you're straight out to, for us, it was Arizona where our spring training complex is. And you get right into physicals, into meetings, into all the like the introductory stuff. And then if you're healthy, some guys go out and start playing in the minors pretty much a couple of weeks after the draft. And then obviously for me, I'm staying in Arizona, right, and I'm kind of continuing my rehab. So it was kind of a continuation of kind of like that difficult time of like, I'm still rehabbing. All the guys that are healthy are going out to play and like are excited to kind of start their careers. I'm sitting in rehab and in Arizona in the summer. It's like 120 out. You're staying at the La Quinta Inn, and like it's not definitely not the most flashy of a lifestyle. So I think it was a reality check right away of like, just because you get drafted and you celebrate that, like you said, but once you get into it's more like, all right, now you're still in the middle of grinding through this injury and kind of learning all that stuff. But like I said, got really lucky with like the people that were within the Mariners. They had a great rehab staff there that helped a lot. the mental skills people that were great. The pitching department that I got, to work with was fantastic. So, top to bottom, can't say enough about how good the development and the minor league side of the Mariners really was. So even though, um, the minors can be a grind with kind of the travel and where you're playing,
Right.
and kind of like the treatment that you hear about of like long bus rides and food and all that stuff. But in terms of like the core of what they really brought, it was amazing.
Awesome, man. Yeah, and during that whole time, so you're finally back playing, you're experiencing the travel, late nights, long bus rides. What was the most exciting part before getting to the show of like in the minors? Like you're meeting all these guys, some of the guys you're still playing with now in the pros. Like what kind of experience was that compared to even college and even high school?
Yeah, I mean, I think getting out of rehab, honestly, that first game back was probably the most like excited that I had been to play baseball again. I think as after you sit out for so long and like you're watching guys play, you're watching guys work out, like they can do anything that they want really without blinking, and you're kind of like having to reset of, there's still some things that you can't do physically, and you're still kind of on the sidelines watching. Like it's a tough thing to go through. So yeah, rehab definitely wasn't easy. A lot of ups and downs. But as I got back into playing, finally, had a couple of other setbacks. Had like got my appendix removed in the middle of rehab. Took a line drive off the head coming back in one of my rehab outings. So there's a lot of other things too to navigate. But yeah, once I finally got back into playing, got sent out to Single A, one of our minor league affiliates, and then finally started playing again. That was kind of like a big thing to celebrate for me, and a big kind of like sigh of relief. Like, all right, we get to just play baseball again.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And then during after your first season, off season, we kind of that's when we started training a little bit, coming into the city or wherever we went. Sometimes it was at a park. I think the focus there was like not necessarily getting stronger, but becoming more stable, whether that be in your shoulder, your arms, your legs. I think at that point you understood more about your body, and like what you needed to do to excel and get your performance at a higher level, right?
Yeah.
So we're doing that. We're working. A lot of it was more mobility and stability stuff, before the season started. So you go off into season 2. In the minors, that was Double A?
So I finished 2022 in high A, and then 2023 started the year in Double A. So yeah, like you said, I mean, I think as we get up and as we get older and kind of you're going up through professional or college to professional to whatever, you start kind of learning yourself a little bit better. I think that's something that isn't talked about enough in terms of the strength and conditioning departments, is like as you really get into the higher levels, it's about what works for you and finding out what you need, what you don't need, what are you good at, what are you not good at. I think that's something that we've done, pretty well, is figuring out what I am already good at and what I'm not as good at, and then being able to kind of combine those things, making sure that I'm kind of raising the floor in terms of what I'm already good at, and then continuing to raise the floor in terms of what I'm also not as good at. And so kind of finding that middle ground, and then kind of continuing to, refine those little things. It was a big deal. So kind of learning and bouncing ideas off each other, and working together in our programs and stuff throughout the season. And then, ended up leading to a good 2023.
Yeah. And I mean, I would say that was a quick turnaround though. It was like the first 2 months of high A ball, Double A, and then all of a sudden the call up to the show.
Yeah.
Right. Take me through that experience. Like what was that day like? And then leading up to, the first day that you're going to pitch against the Rangers, like you even knew some of the guys that you're going to play against. Like what was that like? And, idols becoming rivals, that true saying of like, damn, now I made it, but I got to step up and show my worth.
Yeah. So the process. Well, so I started in Double A in Arkansas. Had a good start to the year, and then had a couple of pitchers on our big league staff get hurt. And so at the time, was somewhat of a, not a short list, but a couple of guys I think that were kind of in that space that were on the edge of getting called up. And I wasn't quite sure like where I stood, but I knew that I was throwing well enough and had proved myself a little bit to kind of start that year. But yeah, unfortunately, a couple of guys on the staff got hurt, and yeah, a couple of days before debuting, um, I'm actually golfing with a couple of buddies out in Arkansas before a game day. Not I'm starting, but before a game that night, and then finishing up. And my manager at the time in Double A was sitting in the parking lot waiting for a couple of our buddies, for us and our group. And yeah, I see him and I'm like, what the heck are you doing here? And he's like, yeah, I'm just making sure that you're ready to throw on Saturday. And that was supposed to be my start day. And I'm like, yeah, of course I'm ready to throw. Like, why are you here? And he's like,
yeah, this
well,
is my golf day. I'm getting everything right.
And he's like, well, yeah, you're gonna be starting Saturday in Texas. And from there I just kind of broke down. Was able to enjoy that moment with friends, and then got to call family and all that stuff after that. Start organizing flights and whatever, all that stuff. So
right.
Yeah, that first day, those first couple of days were kind of a whirlwind of like emotion and trying to stay focused and like ready to pitch,
right.
But also trying to enjoy like the process of, this is everything that I've dreamed of doing since I was a kid, of finally trying to make that happen. So yeah, it was crazy those couple of days, and then flew out to Texas a day or two before my start. Got to kind of see the field and the facility and teammates and things like that. And then yeah, got to start June 3rd, 2023 on my dad's birthday. Pretty crazy.
Damn, that is crazy. Yeah. I remember that. And it was quite of a rude awakening. That's for sure. I mean, I got to go.
Not the softest landing.
I was excited. Like, damn, I'm about to see like my cousin in the league throwing. Like, I'm excited. The family's excited. There's like 20 of us rolling deep. Yeah. I'm sure you were nervous a little bit, but I think it was definitely a rude awakening.
Yeah, I got my ass kicked. I mean, like, no way to sugarcoat it. It was over before I could blink.
I will say that when we were in the crowd, we're yelling your name, like everything. We're taking pictures, and there's like a good amount of Rangers fans right in front of us. They're looking back. What's happening? Why are they yelling? Like, dude, that's my cousin right there. And they were cheering you on. So like, it was a good crowd to also be at.
Yeah.
And they weren't hard on us when they were putting up 6+ runs. Yeah. But I think after that, you settled in a little bit. And I actually have this card here. This is your first win that you got. Yeah. So we'll fast forward. You guys can take a look at that first card of his. There's the little glare there, but take me through that. That was your first win against the Yankees.
Yeah, so
top-notch hitters.
Yeah, after that first game, it was kind of just like, welcome to the show. Like, no one's gonna take it easy on you. No one's gonna, no one's there to hold your hand. Like, this is a big leagues. Like, you better get it together or you're going back down. So it was a quick reality check, and kind of going into the next game was face the Angels. So it was Mike Trout and Shohei right off the bat. Like, it was right. There was no soft landing. Hello, for here. Sure. Yeah. But yeah, I think it was just like, I think that was going back to like what I learned from college, of learning that how to deal with failure, like facing that failure. What do I learn from it, and how do I move on, versus kind of like what I did in college of just kind of like dwelling and pity me and whatever, and kind of sitting on it. It's like, no, I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to go from it. I'm going to move on. So yeah, into the next game, I think we ended up winning, but I didn't get the win. I went like 4 innings or something, and then yeah, one of the couple games later, got my first win in Yankee Stadium. So it was pretty crazy, a couple of weeks of trying to figure out how to succeed and
Right.
learning of right away, like, what do I need to do to be able to succeed at this level? Like, what do I not need to do? What do I just trying to navigate all those things. But yeah, I had a really good group of guys in that clubhouse that were kind of able to bring me in and help me out and show me, what to do, what not to do. And that whole kind of first year in the big leagues in 23 was just kind of it was a learning
Oh,
process
for
for
sure.
sure.
Huge learning process.
Yeah.
Probably learn more about yourself, your body too, now that you're going to be throwing more innings, right?
Yeah.
Like your breath control. I know we talked a lot about that, and just, making sure you're recovering properly, because now you're pitching every 5 days,
Yeah.
and it's the grind. Plus, you're traveling a lot. Sure, accommodations were a little bit better,
Yeah.
being in the show and all, but now, so you get, pretty much a year under your belt. You get a little bit more experience pitching wise, knowing what your pitches can do to batters, things like that. So we're rolling into off season. Now you really know, like, all right, I'm here, but now I got to stay here. I got to stay healthy. Got to
Yeah.
get stronger. So we're working more of that strength and stability, core work a lot too. In the off season, and then you start the 2023 or 2024 season.
Yeah.
So your second year, um, had a little bit of misstep coming into it, right? Spring training, you had, was it forearm or elbow?
Yeah, like some elbow inflammation. Missed the first month of the year. But yeah, I think like you said, like after coming off after that first year, had a little bit better idea of kind of just continuing to learn about myself. What
Mm-hmm.
do I need? What does it take to get through a whole season? What do I personally need to work on? What do I need to get better at? What am I already good at? Um, but you're kind of always just learning those things. You're always trying to refine um, stuff that is going to take you to that next level, and you're kind of tweaking things here. What do I need to keep the same? What do I need to change? So it's just kind of like it's an ever going learning process, and I'm still at the same space now, and I guarantee I'll still be at the same place
For
at the
sure.
end of my career. I'm still just always just trying to find little ways to get better. So um, yeah, especially from a strength and conditioning standpoint and training and kind of stuff that we're doing in the off season, what we're doing in season, like we're always kind of learning. We're always trying to improve things. So I think that in terms of like the weightlifting stuff, it was you know overall strength of you can always get stronger, keeping weight on.
That's huge.
I don't keep weight on a whole very well. Like I got to kind of keep eating and making sure I'm watching that. Hydration's huge, sleep is huge,
Yep.
recovery, all that stuff. Like it's a holistic approach, especially as you get higher and higher, and you want to continue to hold yourself to that standard and stay at that level. Like it's all the little things, and so yeah, just kind of trying to find any avenue that I could to keep improving.
No, for sure. And into your second season now, you're definitely getting more notice throughout the league. And while, that's good because now you're on everybody's radar, but now everybody's like out to get you at the
Yeah.
same time, right? How did you navigate through that? Because you had some like super, like really good outings, throughout the whole year. Got hurt again, bounced back, but still kept it pushing, right? And now you're going into your third season, right?
Hmm.
What is kind of the biggest takeaway after, the life of an MLB player, right? And you're got 2 years under your belt, going into your third. What's kind of like the biggest takeaways for you?
I think it's just trying to keep my approach as simple as I can. Like we control what we can control in terms of all the things that we've talked about, like the strength part, sleep, nutrition, hydration, all that stuff. I'm working on what I need to work on in terms of my throwing program and getting off the mound and
Mm-hmm.
pitches and all that stuff, and um, continuing to kind of keep my focus as narrow and as simple as I can. Trying to remove distractions and learning about kind of as you get bigger and um, I guess not that I'm that big of a name yet, but it just like popularity and all the things, you kind of have to learn how to say no to people. You got to learn how to, kind of stay in your own lane. I'm not, doing a lot of the same stuff as just like my friends from hometown are doing. Like I'm kind of trying to stay focused on what I'm doing. So it's a lot of different things, but also just on the flip side of that, like still enjoying my life, still enjoying my time with family, coming home and enjoying that. Still trying to like stay connected with my friends. Like there's a balance to it
For sure.
and so I think as long as I have a healthy balance of those two things with limits, I think that it can all come together in a really really nice way. So um, it's a heightened focus in baseball and everything that I'm doing, and then it's also just like a nice combination and balance of family life and things that I enjoy outside of baseball, and finding other passions like golf and things like that. Like having that balance outside of baseball allows me to kind of give everything that I have when I am focused in the sport.
Yeah, it allows you to kind of breathe a little bit, take a step back from, the everyday of being on the field
Yeah.
and take away your mind off of it. Because that's important too, right? That's part of like your mental state, being not always on all the time.
Yeah.
As a
For
pitcher,
sure.
you got to
Yeah.
be on, got to be on 100%. But on the lighter side, tell me about Ichiro, because that's my favorite. My favorite player growing up was Ichiro. Like you're in, a historic place where that guy like basically built,
Yeah.
the Mariners. What is that experience like with a legend? I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of legends out of the
Yeah.
Mariners,
I mean,
right?
there's obviously a lot of legends in the game, but I think the thing that separates Ichiro from pretty much everybody else is Ichiro like still plays the game.
Right.
He's still involved. Um, he's in Seattle during the season. He comes to spring training. He's at the field every day. He works out. He's got the same routine that he does every day. Um, so he's got his guy Allen. They throw every day. They long toss. He shags early BP. Him and Julio throw. He'll shag like team BP. Goes in and hits. Works out. Does what he needs to do, and then he gets out of there. But like he's what 50 I think now, and like the dude could easily still play.
I've seen those videos. He just
I mean,
hits. He can throw.
it's unbelievable. So like one of my favorite things now is I'll get to the field early and kind of walk around in the outfield, kind of like mentally getting myself ready for the day. And Ichi will be out there, like him and Allen will be throwing their long toss and they're hitting, they're doing all this stuff, and I just kind of sit back and I watch and like enjoy.
Awesome, man.
So yeah, he's a legend, and he's an unbelievable person too. I talk to him all the time just about like his experience, fun, like growing up in Japan, what it's like, how he kind of built and found a routine that works for him, because obviously it worked. Like he still does the same thing to this day that he did 20 years ago when he was coming up as a young guy coming through Japan, coming to America, getting to the league. So just like a pool of knowledge, and also just like a great human. So yeah, you talk about meeting your idols, like that's a crazy one. Not just like an idol in baseball, but kind of like he's a worldly figure that I have the privilege of being able to watch every day.
That's great. And that's like a Hall of Famer, giving you the ins and outs of the league to a professional baseball player. And now you're at a level where, you can give some advice to the next generation. What is something you would give to the young athletes trying to make it to the next level?
I'd say first and foremost is just enjoy whatever you're doing. Like if you're not constantly having fun and enjoying whatever it is, whether it's a sport, whether it's a passion of yours, that's in coaching, or it's in training, it's in production, it's in music, it's whatever, like just making sure that you're enjoying the process of it all and like having fun. And if you continue to kind of stay in that lane and whatever you're doing for a long time, like the people that are incredibly talented but don't have fun with it anymore, like you kind of lose that love, you lose that passion for it. And so just continuing to take it lightly and have fun, and whether the ups and downs and failures and all those things, like continue to find that kind of light and fun side of it. And then just there's no secret formula of how you're going to succeed and how your journey is going to go. And everybody is so different. But if you just continue to work hard, you continue to find a way, you continue to just kind of keep working, like you're going to, if you keep working and you're not, don't get denied in terms of giving up on yourself, like anything is possible. I think we're living and breathing, examples of that. If we both have two completely different stories and two different, lives of the last 10, 20 years of kind of what we've gone through, but both really excelling in what we're doing. But we weren't, handed anything that we got. We had to struggle. We had to go through a lot of different things. We had to, navigate through different avenues. Obviously, like you wanted to play, I wanted to play in field. Like we kind of, not that we gave up on it, but we just kind of found a way to embrace the failures and the journey. So I think as long as you just keep going, never give up in terms of your dreams. You have to keep working for it. You're going to have to, endure some failures and some other things. But if you are motivated in yourself and tell yourself that you can do it, then you can do whatever you want.
I love that, man. Well, appreciate you for coming on today.
Man, absolutely.
The story is super inspiring, and I hope you guys took away a lot of things. Just a lot of key topics that we hit on. Going from what it's like to play at a young age and figure out, the work and determination that you got to put in, struggle through injuries, and how to work around that with strength training. But as you can see, like anything is possible. My man made it to the league, and we're gonna continue working hard until we can't. So for that, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time. Peace.